Hello and welcome back to A Better World. This is your host Mitchell J. Rabin, and we're very glad that you're joining us again today. Today we're going to have another very special show. We have our dear friend Paul Lowe back on with us, who is in New York for the next couple of weekends. He's going to be speaking with large groups of people, running workshops for people to get more in touch with themselves and sort of more into the groove of their own lives. He and his lovely wife Ava will be running these workshops, and every time Paul comes to New York, people really come out from everywhere to connect to the very specific frequency, you could say, that gets evoked through the work with Paul. So, I'll be putting titles on. This is a picture of his new book. You could take a look at that. And I'll be putting titles on at the end of the show, so anyone who's interested could give a call and find out how you can come and participate in the workshops while Paul is here. Thanks so much for coming back. Great to see you.
Hi.
Paul, there is always so much to talk about with you. And I guess I would just like to open up with a very fundamental question. And just, certainly feel free to improvise from there. We, at this point in time, more than ever, there are more people talking about their spiritual life, what it is to have a spiritual life. People are using that phrase more than ever. What, from the perspective of your work, what does that mean to you?
It means that we've got another level of conditioning where we think there's a spiritual life and this is going to do it for us. So the Catholic Church didn't do it for us, or our Jewish religion didn't do it for us, or the gurus didn't do it for us, or spirulina didn't do it for us, but the spiritual life is going to do it. And it's not. Nothing is going to do it for you. So you were saying just now, the program is a better world. Well, we're not going to affect the world in a big way like that, but we can affect our own lives. You can have a better life, but not if you keep looking on the outside for something to do it for you. Nothing is working. So we've had the humanistic psychology for 50 years, we've had Christianity for 2,000, Buddhism for 2,500, Hinduism for 80,000 years, and it's getting worse. So people are talking about it, but the way they're talking about it is like a hobby, or a little thing I could do on the side and then the whole of my life will change. Well, it won't. If you want the whole of your life to change, you have to change the whole of your life. And that doesn't mean that, as Jesus said, you leave your father and your mother and your sisters, brethren. It means that you start to live your life in each moment, honestly. And people don't do that. They don't even know they don't do that, because nobody's ever taught us honesty. And it's about seeing your truth in each moment, sharing it, and living it. And we don't do that, so life doesn't work, and it never will. So this talking about spirituality is another way of saying, what's going to fix my life? And nothing's going to fix your life unless you fix your life.
In other words, it's just kind of another linguistic, psychological ploy that people play with themselves.
Yeah, another level of drug.
In a sense. Yeah. It's another habit. It's another diversion of consciousness, really.
And what I see is what we call the spiritual life and the material life. They're not different. There is only life. And it's how do you live your life in each moment? If you live it honestly, if you live it with awareness, then you could call that spiritual. But it's the same life. But it's not spiritual. It's just more conscious, more honest. So we've got to watch all these terms as though they're going to do something for us.
Right. Or fashion us into a certain kind of person, because we use certain kind of words, so it would give a suggestion of being a certain kind of person with certain values, New Age or what have you.
Right, and what I've seen over and over is the people that meditate for so many hours a day, very, very few, not as many as we talk about, and then the people...
Many hours or many people?
Right,
either.
Right. And people that go to the gurus and go to the groups, when they're talking about spirituality, it's as though we're going to become spiritual, but we're not going to take care of our anger and our judgment and our jealousy. And this is life. This really doesn't mean it. This is life. It's How do you live your life each moment? So the spiritual person, something happens, then they go and meditate. But that's avoiding what's happening, and the meditation is a little layer of calm on top of this boiling cauldron of life underneath. If your beloved gets attracted to someone else, that's the place to be. What do you feel in this moment, this very moment? What do you feel? That's life. Now, if you come into an acceptance of that, not that you're going to feel better, but acceptance of how it is, that's a higher level of consciousness. You're going to feel better.
Just through feeling that anger, that fury, that jealousy, whatever that is.
Don't suppress it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't work on it. Don't understand it. Don't go to your therapist with it. Don't dump it on the other person. Just feel it. Right.
And then what?
Well,
what does that lead to? What comes of that?
At the moment, everything's a drug for most people. So we know about drugs, we know about alcohol, we know about cigarettes, we know about watching television or chocolate or whatever your thing is. But then we go to the therapist, we go to the guru, in order not to be who we are in the moment. So what we keep doing is trying to avoid exactly the thing that we need to be with at the moment. And all the people that have...
The present.
Right. All the people that have said to be free and in the state of the peace that passeth all understanding, or nirvana, or whatever we call it, they always say the same thing. Be here now. This is it. Jesus says, take no thought of tomorrow, let tomorrow take thought of itself. There's a Jewish saying, Hayam, or something like that, that says, live each day by each day. It all says the same. This is it. Right now, live this moment. Now, if you do, your life will change. It will.
Mm-hmm. It will just qualitatively change.
Just
it
by
will be
accepting what's happening. Because normally the body's saying, think this, feel this, have this experience, and we say, no, we don't like it, we're going to work on it. We're going to go to the therapist to take it away. But the body's saying, no, you need to experience this in order for it to move.
You know, what you're saying, Paul, also there's a whole understanding that could be put forth of the physiology of what you're saying, which is that when a person just feels what it is they're feeling and doesn't try to suppress it, repress it, or deny it, there's a different kind of flow that happens physically in the body, which allows a different kind of qualitative movement to occur. A different kind of flow, if you will, of chi or of energy.
But not only that, medical science now is recording through their electrodes and their new, very sensitive machines that we actually change our chemicals. When we contract, we lower our immune system. We put chemicals in the system that are not healthy. When we expand into acceptance and we're happy, we release chemicals that increase the effectiveness of the immune system, but also affect what goes on in the head. You feel better. So the more you expand with acceptance, the better you feel, the more healthy you are. The more you contract, the more you fight, the more you complain. Literally on every level, you're contaminating yourself.
Absolutely true. It's really that physiology, if you will, and the universe, biology, which means life from the Greek, bios, that's all it means, is supporting really everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
It's you know, as the Taoists would say, it's being in the flow. And you have to be present to know what's flowing.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty straightforward.
We're so automatic in resisting what's going on. And pain is resistance. Whatever you resist, you'll get pain about. So no, as we've seen things in the Bible, we've seen things in the Jewish tradition and in the East, it comes down to heaven is yes and hell is no.
Yes. That which is life affirming is a yes. Yeah. Now, I've known you now, Paul, for a number of years. I've been on the show probably a dozen times by now. Your message is really the same, isn't it? And if it's different, what do you feel is the difference? What do you feel has been a change happening inside you over this time that would have altered the message that you would want people to hear?
Well, we're told, or I was told, I think we're all told, that when you go into the spiritual life, that there is such a thing called enlightenment. And once you've attained enlightenment, it's all over, then you cruise.
You cruise, right?
Yeah, that's not my experience.
Uh-huh.
I find that people who think that that's happened to them, they start to deteriorate, in fact. As I see it, there is no end. There is a jump. There is a jump. And when this jump happens, the worst is over. When this jump happens, there is more fun in your life than pain. Until then, there's more pain in your life than fun. And the jump is responsibility. When you realize that you are in charge of your life, it doesn't matter what your background is, it doesn't matter what your conditioning is, whether you got beaten up or whether you brought up by the nuns, it doesn't make any difference. You can change your life now if you want to. But of course, change means change. So there is this change. Then once you become responsible, life starts to work. But then it's a matter of another level, another level, another level. And as you were quoting the Taoists, they say you continue and continue until you're hardly here. You're so choiceless. You're just a glowing light of love, of presence, totally unconditional. There is no anger. It isn't that anger doesn't come. There isn't any anger there anymore. There is no judgment. There is unconditional acceptance, unconditional love. So what I found is it just goes on moving and moving. And when I took this 6 months off, it was many, many things started to change. Mm-hmm. When I came back to talking again, we're back at a whole different level. And the level now is, in our meetings, there is no room for complaint. There is no room for talking about how come you can't do it. No excuses. You either do it or you don't do it. You want to do it or you don't want to do it. And then we're there to support, to point out things that are in the way, that are unconscious, that help you to see them more clearly. But that's the big jump now. Mm-hmm, and there's a whole scientific thing with this as well. You see, in complaint, you do contract, you do go down, but you don't only change your chemicals and your biology, you also change your vibration around you.
Yes.
And this vibration is going out all the time. No, complaint. And then what comes back? Things that resonate with the complaint. So the more you complain, the more you get to complain about. Once you reach another level that says, yes, there are these things that are not so pleasant, and once you say these things are not so pleasant, and I'm grateful for what is, you change your vibration. Your vibration comes out as positive, and the vibration that meets you is positive. Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else is added unto you. In the East, they say, take one step towards God, and God will take 99 towards you. That's the way it works. Start to disconnect, not suppress, not ignore, not deny the parts that are not so much fun in your life, but start to look at the things that are and be grateful. Your whole life changes, literally. And then so do our groups, so do our meetings. Everything becomes more fun, where we're not continually being dragged down by people that don't really want to change. They just want to talk about how difficult life is and the excuses why they can't change.
Where life isn't happening the way they would want it to. Dream about it.
Right.
As opposed to just making it happen,
yeah.
in a sense, you know? Yeah.
Having it happen.
Having it
Once
happen,
you say, once you open up, life starts to live you.
I'm just interpreting a little bit of what you were saying about the resonances and all of that. It's considered a natural law. I mean, since we're referring to science and that kind of paradigm in a way to support what we kind of recognize as common sense and your beautiful teachings, which really enunciate common sense if you really think about it. You know, be present, be human, be alive, be connected, and don't deny what's happening. This is what I always hear you say. It happens that there's a law that speaks about the law of resonance, or it's even in homeopathy, in that very ancient medical teaching, which is that things find their own level. And if you put something out, it comes back to you on that same level. You put something out on a higher level, that comes back to you. So your life is actually what you create. I mean, it really happens that way. You put out a certain energy, you get back the ricochet effect. So it's a very sound, ancient and present teaching.
In one book it was saying, it would put it this way: if you say, I want to be more conscious, existence will reply by supporting you wanting to be more conscious. And if you say, I am going to be more conscious, existence supports you being more conscious.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Right. The universe follows our language, which is our wish.
We are the universe.
We're the universe, exactly. Right. That's one of the itty-bitty secrets you don't tell until the end of the workshop. What happens when people come to the workshop? What kind of engagement do they
up until
experience?
Comparatively recently, I used to be on at them all the time. Nothing's changing. You come here for a good time, which is wonderful, because life is about having a good time.
Yeah.
And basically you're not living it in the world. And that's changed. Over the last year or so it changed, but over the last month or so it has been dramatically different. Dramatically different.
How so?
Well, people really are starting to live their truth. They really are starting to disconnect from the conditioning with which they've been given and living in a totally different way. They're fun to be with, they're lighter, and people see that. When new people come into the meetings, and these people that have been with us sometimes, they have had life transformations. And it's not because of what we do, it is what they do with what we say. Because it doesn't matter who's talking to you now, and it doesn't matter what he's saying. The thing is, what are you going to do with what you've heard or felt after this program's over, or right now? What are you going to do with what you're hearing? If you connect, you're going to integrate that into your life. And we started to doing longer events now, 5, 10, 3-week groups. And these incredible changes do happen to people, and then being with each other in this very close way, it starts to integrate into their life. So when they leave, they live it. And it's fine to come for a weekend or a time and have a good time, to be with beautiful people and feel lighter and be uplifted by the vibration. The thing is, can you integrate it into your life and start to live that way? And that's what's starting to happen delightfully.
Oh, God. That must be a really nice kind of payoff for you.
Yeah, it's great.
You have been on this path for so many years and reaching out and helping so many people, you and Ava, you know, and it's just, in a sense, time for you to enjoy the fruits of the work.
And when you say payoff, it's like we've got buddies now. We've got people we can play with. Whereas before they were afraid or tight or in their mind or contracted, and then there was no real meeting there. It wasn't fun. And now we're having fun. We're hanging out together and having a great time. And as you probably know, there's no hierarchy in us. We don't have an organization, or there's no particular way to be. So the whole thing's mingling wonderfully. And we're having more social events where people come together in a conscious way, where instead of just going completely unconscious, that we're there for each other. And if somebody goes off into their story, we'll say, you know, I think that's your story. I can't feel you right here now. Just reminding each other all the time. Come back to now and be honest.
That's beautiful. This is how social change occurs on the highest of levels. You know?
Yeah, and on that level, you know, I've been talking for a long time about how we've been trying to make a conditioning work that doesn't work. Relationships as we know them don't work. That these barriers we put up, this owning with each other and separation doesn't work. And now it's starting to happen. People are starting to live as threes. They're starting to, they still go through stuff, but instead of getting locked into it or fight it or change the other, starting to be with it and live more honestly, more naturally, and having more fun, and of course, widening the circle of friends.
So that the typical couple paradigm is shifting and lifting. And
the typical couple live in hell.
How about the couple, though, that doesn't
Very
You
rare.
don't live in hell, do you?
No, not at all.
God forbid. Right.
But in a way, we're not a couple in that way. Our connection with each other is in each moment.
Uh-huh.
So we haven't made a contract. We're legally married, but within ourselves, when we don't own each other. And so
right.
each one is free to live their truth in each moment. So when we're together, it's because we want to be together. And if we get attracted to someone else and it feels appropriate, and it's all part of the flow. It's being with each other, not denying, cutting, or being dishonest about anything. And so we get deeper and deeper.
Now, does that suggest, Paul, that when a person has an impulse to, let's say, be with somebody else, or to just leave and take a trip, or whatever it may be?
Big subject.
I
Very
know.
briefly, as quick as I can.
Yes, I know. I put you on the spot.
We are so suppressed sexually. We're built up. It's like
Yes.
saying to somebody who's been on a fast for a week, just nibble at this bit of food. Once you get a yes, you want to eat. So if ever you give yourself permission about sex, you want to gobble, because we're out of balance. Once you've got into balance, then if something's appropriate, something's a dance, something's a fun, it's out of truth, it's out of naturalness, something beautiful happens which enhances you being together. If you've been building up, then it's an impulse instead of a flow, instead of love, instead of a naturalness there. So yes, I'm saying live your truth, but you've got to be aware. Don't build up the energy and then jump moment to moment to moment. What is your truth?
In a sense, if you're easy with your life, if you're simple and easy already, then everything will, whether it's sex or whether it's taking a trip or whatever it may be, that kind of comes in, just takes its natural order in things, its natural place.
And stays in balance.
And stays in balance, yeah. That was a beautifully succinct response to a very complex subject.
On the
Yeah, 2 or 3 days, for sure. And you have. So,
Just for 30 years.
Yeah, right, just for 30 years. And is it sinking in?
Yes.
Well, it is. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
What I was saying...
Well, in a sense, that's what I was saying about the payoff, because after seeding so many human beings with your lively ideas, if you will,
And what I was
looks
saying
like it's coming
recently,
through.
There are a few people living in threes now, and I was saying, wouldn't it be wonderful if the cameras move in on a big Hollywood event, and there's the famous male star and the famous female star, and then there is the person that's living with them. They're living as three, and there they are, publicly, out there saying, there's another way of living.
Yeah. Of course, the French discussed this many hundreds of years ago. They've actually offered the world a model, if you want to think about it. Historically, the idea of the ménage à trois. But it's funny that you say that, because the more I think about this, and it's really been a subject on my mind for the past many months, everything happens in threes anyway. There's a triangulation. There's a yin, there's a yang, and there's the line in between, which is sort of the mediator. So again, going back to the idea of natural law, there is something holy about it.
But when people have a satori, it's often for 3 hours, or 3 days, or mostly 3 weeks.
Is that so?
And we have to remember that really there isn't a 3. I mean, we've invented numbers.
True.
And yet,
it
seems to be happening.
Right. And humor, Paul, occurs in threes. Humor. If you follow the way comedians communicate, you'll find they offer one idea, then they offer a second, and then they hit you with a third. And that's the way jokes operate. There's a threeness to a lot of our lives, so it supports, again, well, maybe ménage à trois.
It's going to alter the geometry at weddings, isn't it, if you're going to include 3 people. And then you've got 3 people to give away. The whole geometry is going to be different.
That's right. And I was taught, since we're on this subject, that it takes a minimum of 3 legs for like a table or a stool to stand on.
That's right.
2 doesn't work. 2 is not stable, but a third stabilizes. Again, sacred in
So
geometry.
start looking around, folks.
That's precious. And so people come to your workshops and...
Well, within what's called relationships, which doesn't actually exist, relationships are in the mind, not in the world. What usually happens is people see that they've really been living a lie and the thing falls apart. Or they've been living a lie and not really sharing with each other, and it goes deeper. So those that are open, these are the two things that happen. And lately it's been people staying together and going deeper.
That is beautiful. Now, in a sense, even though you said you cannot create a better world, you can create a better life, I think what you're really saying is that with the number of people that you and Eva have affected over a number of years, and the way things are changing for some people in this world, we really are changing the world from the inside out.
Right. And
it's not by external changes.
Right. And I say that, don't change the world, because most people want to change the world so that they feel better. Once you start to feel better, part of the world has changed anyway, and the people around you will. So it is about you. It's always about you.
That's right. That's right. We're the real change agent, and the world changes naturally, actually.
And when enough of us are free, it's infectious. We'll turn over, and then this whole new level of consciousness will happen.
Yeah.
But we've got to be quick. There may not be much time.
It's running out, truly. Well, I just want to say thank you again for coming to New York and spending time with us and coming onto the show. I know a lot of people who watch really, really enjoy you. And I've gotten the feedback, you know.
Good.
People call and say.
So come and see us. Come and have fun. Come and join in.
That'd be great. That'd be great. I'll put the numbers and dates on afterwards so all can hear. Last words you'd like to share with our audience? They're listening closely.
Just don't take life so seriously. Just live each moment as light and as fun as you know how fun.
It's great. Thanks so much, my friend. Great to see you. So please come and join us at Paul's workshops this weekend and next weekend, and enjoy him while he's in town. Thanks so much for joining us here at A Better World. I'm your host, Mitchell J. Rabin. We look forward to seeing you all next week.